Hello everyone, glad to see you've made it this far. This will be the last lecture of Section 1. Section 1 and not Chapter 1, so don't get that excited. But maybe you'll feel excited when you know that you'll get to challenge yourself in the next lecture, as we're going to encounter the exam sample questions related to this section. As far as I remember, there are 3 questions, one question covering the test planning activities, one question covering the test monitoring and control activities, and the last question covering the test completion activities. And that would be, my friend, the topic of today's lecture. So let's get into it. Alright folks, so hearing the word completion might make some of you think it's just about shutting things down and moving away. But trust me, test completion is not about packing your bags and leaving the building. It's about making sure everything we have worked on actually means something going forward. It's the cleanup, it's the closure, and more importantly, it's the moment where you protect the value your team has created. Now, when do we need to think about test completion? Well, this can happen at different points, maybe after major release, or after a sprint if you are following Agile, or maybe at the end of a particular test level, like system testing, or even after a particular test type, like performance testing. But regardless of the timing, the goal stays the same. You're summarizing what happened during testing, capturing anything with high value that came out of testing, make sure the critical information is handed to the right people, maybe cleaning up everything that's no longer needed, and finally, learning from the entire experience. In short, we can say that test completion is about closing the testing phase in a structured and methodical way, so that nothing important is lost. Plus, you're ensuring that future testing efforts are stronger because of what you have learned. Excellent. So that was a very short introduction just to remind ourselves what the test completion is all about. Now let's get into the real deal and take a look at the 5 core activities of test completion together. I believe there are 5. Create and approve the test completion report, archive testware, hand over testware, clean the environment, and document lesson learned. Self-explanatory, I must say, but let's walk through them. They won't take much of our time. First up is creating and approving the test completion report. This is where you gather all test-related information. So your plans, logs, and test results, maybe your progress report and defect reports, are all brought together to evaluate whether or not they met your original test objectives. You also check if your exit criteria were achieved, and of course you'll summarize the whole story in one formal report. After issuing the formal test completion report, it must be approved by stakeholders according to the policy and hierarchy of the organization. But why do we need this report anyway? Simply because it provides transparency. It answers important questions like what was tested, what was found, how good is the product now, and are we ready to move on to the next stage, whether it's releasing the product or moving into maintenance. For example, maybe you've aimed to achieve like 90% of test case pass rates, but you only got 88% and 3 low priority bugs still unfixed. That's not the end of the world, but it's important to record it. You summarize everything neatly in the test completion reports and get it reviewed and approved by your stakeholders. Next, we move to archiving testware. What happens here is pretty much straightforward. Based on your project needs, you need to decide what testware to archive and then store it. But of course, it's not just dumping them somewhere. No. We probably do this by using version control systems like a configuration management tool. This way, it's easy and reliable to get them back when needed. Of course, testware refers to everything that was used or produced during testing. Think of your test cases, test data, execution logs, automated test scripts, test results, maybe your defect reports. This is all valuable material that should be saved. Now, keeping the testware safe and organized is super important because, well, you'll thank yourself later. You'll save time and effort in the future as you don't have to reproduce these testware again. You'll keep a historical record of the test process for the purpose of auditing and compliance, and you can get this testware later for ongoing maintenance or enhancement projects. So imagine you're testing a banking application and there is a fund transfer feature that gets tested in every release. So basically, instead of rewriting new test cases for testing this feature, each time the app gets updated, you can just reuse the existing ones. It may look oversimplified, but this is the truth. Alright, now that everything is archived, we come to the next activity, handover of testware. So this step is about delivering useful testing artifacts to the teams who will need them after testing ends. This could be your support team, your maintenance crew, or operations. You can think of this phase as acknowledgement phase, where you inform other teams about any known issues, especially the risks and defects that have not been resolved yet. Very important as a matter of fact, because your job isn't over when the release is done. If a known issue makes it into production, and yes, sometimes that's a business decision, then the support team needs to know about it. You don't want the end users to report an issue while the support team is not aware of it. Nobody likes that kind of surprises, to be honest. Just imagine a minor login timeout issue that you're aware of, but the support team isn't. They will be caught off guard when customers start calling in. The support team will probably give you some serious trouble for that. So, handing over detailed documentation avoids confusion and ensures that everyone is happy at the end of the day. Once that's done, we have to clean the environment. Cleaning the environment is a long and complex process. It begins with reducing our carbon footprint, planting trees, separating recyclables properly, maybe organizing a neighborhood cleanup. Oh, sorry, wrong environment. Got a bit carried away there. Must be all those National Geographic videos I watched when I was a kid. Anyway, while that kind of environmental cleaning is definitely important, it's not quite what we mean here as test managers. What I'm actually talking about in the software testing context is tidying up our test environments. And yes, this one is often overlooked, but it's absolutely critical. You need to remove any temporary test artifacts from your environment. That means cleaning up test data, deleting temporary database, removing custom configurations, and uninstalling any tools or drivers that were added specifically for testing. Think of it as cleaning everything and leaving a room ready for the next person who's going to use it after you. I know my wife would be very proud of me if she knew I actually said that. Anyway, you should also reset the environment to a clean, predefined baseline. This helps avoid any interference with future tests and ensure that the test environment remains stable and safe with no data leaks. For example, if you were testing an healthcare insurance application and created some dummy customer accounts, you would probably want to delete them, clean up logs, and restore your database to its original snapshot after testing. There is no one reason on earth to keep those dumb users on the system when you're done testing, right? And finally, we come to the most reflective activity in my opinion, documenting lessons learned. I'm saying that because this is where the real growth happens. Here, you gather the team and hold a retrospective session. And you talked about everything: what went well, what didn't go as planned, and what should be definitely improved next time. Now, it's super important to document those insights formally. Those lessons aren't just for fun, okay? They will help you improve future sessions, avoid repeating the same mistakes, and capturing smart ideas that actually worked. Maybe during your retrospectives, the team realizes that reviewing test cases early with developers helped prevent a bunch of defects. That's a win. And it's something you want to repeat in the future projects. So you write it down, share it, and make it part of your team's DNA moving forward. So you can see that test completion is not just a mechanical task of saying, "We're done." No, it's a thoughtful, deliberate process that ensures your hard work leads to even better results next time. You archive knowledge, communicate it, clean your space, and most importantly, you learn. And that's what responsible test management looks like. All right, that brings us to the end of this lecture. Thanks everyone for sticking with me. You're the best. Again, the Q&A section is there for a reason, so make sure to use it if you need any further explanation. And hey, if you haven't yet, don't forget to leave a course review. This is very important to me and for other students who are considering joining us. Thanks so much in advance. Looking ahead, our next session is all about consolidating your understanding. You review the key topics from our recent lectures by tackling the exam questions together to make sure you are well prepared. So get ready for that. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.